It's a new year and a new chance for you to make a fresh start with your compliance. For the next 31 days on the FCPA Compliance Report, we're going to be bringing you a daily tip, strategy, or idea that you can use to improve your program. Here's your host, Tom Fox, the Compliance Evangelist.
This month's sponsor of 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program is Affiliated Monitors. Founded in 2004, Affiliated Monitors provides professional, independent integrity monitoring and ethics and compliance assessments nationally and internationally and across almost all industries. With its knowledge of effective ethics and compliance programs and cultures, Affiliated Monitors is respected for its work as the corporate monitor on matters ranging from multinational corporations to small and mid-sized companies and even individuals. Having served in over 750 monitorships, no one has more experience as an independent monitor than the team at Affiliated Monitors. For more information on how an independent monitor can help improve your company's ethics and compliance program, visit this month's sponsor, Affiliated Monitors, at www.affiliatedmonitors.com. Big data and continuous improvement. Consider again the use of big data, this time to facilitate continuous improvement. Alistair Croll, in the book Planning for Big Data, informs this discussion of continuous improvement in a best practices compliance program. Big data allows continuous improvement through the feedback economy. This is a step beyond information economy because you are using the information that has been generated and collected as a source of information to guide you going forward. Information itself is not the greatest advantage, but using that information to prevent, detect, and remediate a compliance program going forward is. And this is certainly what the Department of Justice has laid out in the 2019 guidance. Croll draws on military theory to observe his concept of a feedback loop. It is the OODA loop, which stands for Observe, Orient, Detect, and Decide. Then act. This comes from a military strategy which says that combat consists of observing your circumstances, orienting yourself to your enemy's way of thinking and your environment, and deciding on a course of action and then acting on it. The success of the OODA is, in large part, because it's a feedback loop, so that the results of earlier actions feed back into later, hopefully wiser ones. This should allow combatants to get inside their opponent's loop, outsmarting and maneuvering them, because the system itself learns. For the CCO or compliance practitioner, this means that if your compliance program can collect and analyze information better, you can act on that information faster. One of the greatest impediments to the OODA feedback loop is surplus noise in your data. You need to capture and analyze it, separating the digital wheat from the digital chaff, identifying meaningful undercurrents while ignoring the meaningless. To do so, you need to move with a more robust system that puts data in a more usable form. The first step is data collection, where the challenge is both the sheer information of data coming in and its size. Once the data comes in and is ingested and cleaned, it comes into your organization in an unstructured format. You will need to cut it up and put it in the correct database format for use. The storage component, where you place the data, is also important, certainly in today's era of data security. Another important component is machine learning and the importance in the data supply chain. We're trying to find the signal within the noise to discern patterns. Think finding patterns in raked leaves. Humans can't find signals well by themselves, just as astronomers use algorithms to scan the night sky for signals, then verify any promising anomalies themselves. So too can data analysts use machine learning to find interesting dimensions, grouping, or patterns within that data. Machines can work at a lower signal-to-noise ratio than people. It is also important that machine learning is in big data collection and analysis, the human touch, because there's no substitute for human eyes and ears. Yet many CCOs displaying data is the most difficult because it is not generally in a readable form. To say that lawyers are not as proficient as other corporate types in Excel or similar tools would be to simply state the obvious. Yet that is about as sophisticated as many compliance practitioners can get. It is important to portray data in a more visually pleasing style to help convey dozens of independent data sources into navigable 3D environments. Of course, having all this data is of zero use unless you act on it. Big data can be used in a wide variety of decision making, from employment decisions around hiring and firing to strategic planning to risk management and compliance programs. But it does take a shift in compliance thinking to use such data. Once again, lawyers are particularly ill-suited to consider why such information has reasons as diverse as training and temperament. Yet there is another reason why compliance has evolved to Compliance 2.0, Compliance 3.0, and indeed beyond. Big data allows you to make a quicker assessment of the impact and measured risk. It advocates fast, iterative learning. Big data supply chain should be an organizational OODA loop. But unlike the loop, it is more than simply about the loop and plugging information as you move through it. Big data is mostly about feedback, that is, obtaining the impact of your risks that you have accepted. For this to work in compliance, a company's compliance function needs to understand and choose a course of action based on the results, then observe what happens and use that information to collect new data or analyze things in a different way. It's a process of continual improvement. The three prongs of any best practices compliance program are prevent, detect, and remediate. Whether you consider the OODA loop or big data supply chain feedback, this process coupled with the data that is available to you should facilitate a more agile and directed compliance program. The feedback components allow you to make adjustments literally on the fly. If that does not meet the definition of continuous improvement, I don't know what does. So what are today's three key takeaways? Number one, use big data to continuously improve your compliance program going forward. Number two, the OODA loop, which of course means observe, orient, decide, and act, is an excellent way to think about using data for continuous improvement. And finally, always remember the human element. You need a set of human eyes and ears for the anomalies that are picked up by your continuous feedback loop, and then you can take a deeper dive into them and evaluate as necessary going forward. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow where we take up another topic in continuous improvement of 31 days to a more effective compliance program. As a call to action, I would ask that you tell one of your colleagues about this podcast series on the nuts and bolts of compliance, 31 days to a more effective compliance program, and this month's topic of continuous monitoring. 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network, and this month's sponsor is Affiliated Monitors. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow for another episode in 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program.